Welcome to Strange Serenity, everybody. I'm really excited to be guest hosting this deep dive into Superman.
Superman.
Yeah, Superman. He's thinking a ton of really interesting stuff about him, and we're going to kind of dig into, why he's more than just tights and a cape.
Right.
Like what is it about Superman that makes him such a cultural phenomenon?
Yeah, he's more than just a comic book character, right?
He is. It's like everybody knows Superman, but what is it that makes him resonate so deeply across like generations?
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about, the context in which he was created. I mean, we're talking about the Great Depression here.
Oh, wow.
Siegel and Schuster, the guys that came up with Superman were living through that time.
It was a pretty bleak time in the world, and so they dreamed up this, like, almost godlike figure
Yeah.
who could swoop in and just fix things, a symbol of hope when things felt hopeless.
Exactly. Yeah, and that kind of leads into another layer of the Superman's appeal, and that is his connection to some pretty profound philosophical ideas.
Okay, wait, hold up. Superman and philosophy.
I know.
That's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the Man of Steel.
But it's there. If you think about Kant, for example,
Okay.
Kant believed in the categorical imperative, the idea that we have a duty to act morally,
Oh.
regardless of the consequences.
So even if it's hard, even if it's unpopular,
Yeah.
you do what's right.
You do the right thing.
Because it's the right thing to do.
Because it's the right thing to do.
That's very Superman.
Right, and he doesn't use his powers for personal gain.
Yeah.
He is purely motivated by helping others.
Right.
And he really embodies that Kantian sense of duty.
Okay, so we've got Kant. What about, there's Nietzsche too, but that seems a little
Well, yeah.
darker for a superhero.
It's not about being dark. It's about pushing boundaries.
Right.
Nietzsche's Übermensch concept is often misunderstood.
Right.
It's not about being this power-hungry villain.
Right.
It's about self-mastery.
Okay.
It's about striving to be the best version of yourself, about transcending limitations.
So Superman, he's pushing his own limits to save people. He's constantly striving to be better.
Absolutely.
He's kind of the Übermensch, but like a compassionate one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a fascinating paradox, right?
Yeah.
He's this incredibly powerful being, yet he chooses to live among us vulnerable, experiencing the world as we do.
And that kind of brings us to the whole Clark Kent thing, right?
Exactly.
The mild-mannered reporter versus Superman, the, world-saving hero. I mean, everyone loves a good secret identity, but it's more than that, isn't it?
It is. It taps into something very human. We all navigate different identities, the public self and the private self.
Right.
And Clark Kent allows Superman to kind of experience the world from both sides.
Oh.
To really understand the people he's protecting.
One of the articles you sent actually talked about how that duality isn't just, fun little gimmick,
Yeah.
but it's actually a source of psychological strength for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He can process his experiences and struggles as Clark Kent.
Right.
And that informs how he acts as Superman.
Yeah.
So it's a way of integrating these complex aspects of himself.
It's like everybody puts on a bit of a mask, I guess, depending on who they're with, right?
Sure.
Superman just takes it to the extreme.
Yeah. And he shows us that, navigating those different aspects of ourselves can actually be a source of strength and resilience.
Oh, wow.
It's not about denying who we are. It's about embracing the complexity.
This actually reminds me of a specific scene from one of the sources you provided.
Okay.
Where Superman has to make this like incredibly difficult choice. And it really shows that even with all this power,
Yeah.
he's still human.
Yes.
He struggles, he feels deeply.
That's what makes him so relatable.
Yeah.
He makes mistakes. He experiences doubt. He's not perfect.
Right.
And that makes his triumphs even more meaningful because we understand the cost,
It almost makes you think about all those comparisons people make between Superman and, like, Jesus.
Yes, the classic Superman as a Christ figure debate.
Yeah.
It's a popular one.
It is.
Both coming from above, both sacrificing for humanity.
But Superman's not about saving souls.
Right.
Or offering some kind of divine forgiveness, right?
Exactly. That's a key difference.
Okay.
Superman inspires us to be better.
Right.
But he doesn't absolve us of our own responsibility.
He doesn't just swoop in and fix everything.
Exactly.
He empowers us to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, might make him even more compelling.
Right.
It's not about blind faith. It's about taking action.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making tough choices.
Yeah. And that leads us to another fascinating aspect of Superman, and that is how he is a reflection of our culture.
Okay.
His stories have changed over time, mirroring the anxieties and hopes of different eras.
So it's not just Superman that changes. It's the stories themselves that kind of evolve with us.
Think about it, during World War II, he was battling Nazis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
During the Cold War, he became a symbol of American strength against communism.
Wow.
And after 9/11, his stories grappled with themes of loss and unity and rebuilding.
It's like he's this barometer for what we're going through as a society.
Right, like
What we fear, what we hope for, it all gets played out in his stories.
exactly. And that's what makes, studying Superman so fascinating. It's not just about comic books. It's about understanding ourselves,
Oh, yeah.
our cultural evolution, and how we make sense of the world through stories.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it, like that, this seemingly simple superhero
Mm-hmm.
actually provides a window into like our collective psyche.
Totally. And it highlights the power of storytelling and myth-making.
Yeah.
We create these figures, these narratives to help us grapple with these big questions,
Yeah.
with our deepest fears and aspirations. And Superman is like the perfect example of that.
Oh, okay. So we've talked about Superman as this symbol of hope, as this philosophical figure, as this cultural mirror. But there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Okay, what's that?
The spiritual side of Superman.
Okay.
I know we talked about the Jesus parallels,
Right.
but it feels like there's something even deeper there.
I agree. It goes beyond these specific religious comparisons.
Yeah.
Superman's story taps into something primal, a very human yearning for something greater than ourselves.
He embodies the qualities we aspire to.
Mm.
Compassion,
Mm.
courage, selflessness.
Mm.
It's almost like he represents like the best of humanity,
Right.
what we're capable of when we really strive to be our best selves.
And that's a big part of his enduring appeal.
Yeah.
He speaks to that part of us that wants to believe in something good,
Mhm.
something hopeful.
Even in the face of like chaos and darkness,
Exactly.
that even with all the messed up stuff happening in the world, there's still good out there
Yeah.
fighting for what's right.
Mm.
And that maybe, just maybe we can be part of that fight too.
Exactly. And that brings us to a crucial question. If Superman is this reflection of our best selves,
Hmm.
what does that mean for us?
Hmm.
What does your Superman story look like?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's easy to kind of get caught up in the fantasy of Superman, right?
Sure.
The superhuman feats and all that. But how do we translate that into like our own lives?
Right.
I mean, we can't exactly fly around and lift buildings.
Exactly. It's not about literally replicating Superman's powers.
Right.
It's about embodying his spirit,
Okay.
his values in our everyday actions.
So what does that look like practically?
It starts with these small acts of courage and kindness,
Mm-hmm.
speaking up for what you believe in, even when it's difficult,
Yeah.
helping someone in need, even if it's inconvenient.
Right.
Those everyday choices, they matter.
It's like those little moments where you have a choice, right?
Yeah.
Do you look away or do you step up?
Precisely. And those choices, they build on each other.
Okay.
The more we practice those Superman-like qualities,
Mhm.
the more they become part of who we are.
It's like a muscle you're training,
Yeah,
but a muscle for good.
right.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about striving to be better.
Yeah,
A little more Superman-like every day.
exactly. And the amazing thing is those small acts, they can have this ripple effect,
Wow.
You might inspire someone else to act with a little more kindness,
Yeah.
a little more courage. It creates this chain reaction.
So we're not just trying to save the world ourselves. We're inspiring others
Right.
to join us in making it a better place.
That's the idea. We can't all be Superman,
Right.
but we can all contribute to creating a world that reflects his values.
Oh, okay.
A world that's just a little more compassionate, a little more hopeful.
Wow, this deep dive has been incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like I've not only learned so much about Superman, but like also about myself
Mm-hmm.
and like the potential we all have to make a difference.
Me too. It's
Amazing.
amazing how this seemingly simple comic book character
Yeah.
can spark such profound reflection.
Well, that's the power of myth, right?
Exactly.
It speaks to something universal within us. And Superman in all his forms will continue to inspire and challenge us for years to come.
Absolutely. He reminds us that hope isn't passive.
Right.
It's a choice. It's an action.
Yeah.
And that we all have the potential to be a force for good in the world.
And on that note, it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed exploring the world of Superman and what he means for us, be sure to like and subscribe to the Strange Serenity YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics.
Sounds good.
Until then, keep seeking the serenity in the strange.
That's a really good question. It's easy to get caught up in the fantasy of Superman, right?
Sure.
These superhuman feats, but how do we translate that into our own lives?
Right.
We can't fly around and lift buildings.
Exactly. It's not about literally replicating Superman's powers.
Right.
It's about embodying his spirit, his values in our everyday actions.
Okay, so what does that look like practically? It starts with small acts of courage and kindness. Speaking up for what you believe in. Even when it's difficult, helping someone in need, even if it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
Those everyday choices, they matter.
Yeah, it's like those little moments where you have a choice, right?
Yeah.
Do you look away or do you step up and help?
Precisely. And those choices, they build on each other.
Okay.
The more we practice those Superman-like qualities, the more they become a part of who we are.
It's like a muscle you're training.
Yeah.
But a muscle for good.
Right.
I love that. So it's not about being perfect. It's about striving to be better.
A
A little more Superman every day.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is those small acts, they can have this ripple effect,
Oh, wow.
You might inspire somebody else to act with a little more kindness, a little more courage, and it creates this chain reaction.
Oh, that's cool. So we're not just trying to save the world ourselves. We're inspiring other people
Right.
to join us.
That's the idea. We can't all be Superman, but we can all contribute to creating a world that reflects those values, a world that's just a little more compassionate, a little more hopeful.
Wow. This deep dive has been incredible. I feel like I've not only learned so much about Superman,
Yeah.
but also about myself and the potential we all have to make a difference.
Me too. It's amazing how this seemingly simple comic book character can spark such profound reflection.
Well, that's the power of myth, right? It speaks to something universal within us. And Superman in all his forms will continue to inspire and challenge us for years to come.
Absolutely. He reminds us that hope isn't passive.
Yeah.
It's a choice, an action, and that we all have that potential to be a force for good in the world.
And on that note, it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed exploring the world of Superman and what he means for us, be sure to like and subscribe to the Strange Serenity YouTube channel.
Yes.
We'll be back with more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics. Until then, keep seeking the serenity in the strange.